Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Advanced Grammar. This is our last session, our last online session. Today, we talk about conditionals and wishes. This is a very interesting thing to learn, something we referred to previously, but we have to go through it again in a very organized way, or at least a way more organized than before. This is Rafat Larir from the Islamic University of Gaza. This is a reminder that the textbook is Understanding and Using English Grammar, 5th edition by Betty Azar and Stacy Hagen. And as usual, the unit begins with an exercise. We have 12 statements with grammatical errors related to the conditionals, the topic we're discussing today. So you need, before watching this, try to test yourself, pause the video, try to fix the errors in the sentences, and as you go on, you try to go back and check your answers. So basically, there are three major things to talk about when we speak about conditionals. There are several forms of the conditional sentences, but the most significant, the most commonly used forms are the following. Number one, when we talk about real present or real future, real means that it's possible to happen, it's likely to happen. Number two, when we speak about unreal present or future, when it is unlikely, almost impossible or impossible to happen, whether in the present or in the future. And then when we speak about conditionals, about things that finished, that were in the past, meaning it's unreal in the past. The first thing is that we use rule number one. When we speak about the real present or real future, we use the simple form, the present simple in the if clause in the first part, and we use will or can or may or shall in the second part, in the main clause, the result clause. So will plus a simple form of the verb. Example, if I have enough time, I watch TV every evening. Sometimes you don't have to use will or can because it's a fact. If I have enough time, I will watch TV later on tonight. Basically, these two sentences have the same meaning. And basically, they suggest that there is a possibility that I will have time later on. So there is a possibility I will be watching TV. The second part is when we talk about, again, an unlikely thing in the present or in the future. Remember, if we talk about a real thing in the present or the future, we use the present simple tense in the if clause. If we talk about something that is unreal in the present or in the future, we use the past simple tense. So in English, there is a rule in English. If we want to talk about something that is impossible in the present, we use the past simple tense. So look at the example. And of course, if we use the past simple tense in the second part, the result clause, we use would plus the infinitive, the simple form of the verb. Example, if I had enough time, I would watch TV. So look at this. Basically, the first sentence here, the one up, if I have time, I will watch TV. It means there is a possibility I will be having time, and there is a possibility, therefore, that I will be watching TV. But in the second part, it's almost unlikely, perhaps impossible that I will be having time, therefore I will not be watching TV. But both sentences are in the present or the future. So usually, I always give this to the students. Sometimes, and this is what is beautiful about the English language, sometimes you don't have to reveal clearly, openly what you intend, your intention. But the grammar reveals many things. This is where the meaning is in the grammar. So if a student comes and tells me, can you help me? Would you help? Could you explain this to me? And I say to the student, come later, come to my office later. Of course, there's no office now with online classes. You can always ask online. If I say, if I have enough time, I will help you. Now, this indicates two important things. Number one, there is a possibility. How did you know that there is a possibility? Because I use the first conditional sentence type. There is a possibility that I will be having time. Number two, that there is a willingness to help you, that I am willing to help you. I want to help you. I'll do my best. But I could say to a different student or to the same student in a different situation, if I had enough time, I'd help you. Now, look at this. Both sentences mean, the meaning is in the present in both sentences. Present or future, by the way. But when we use the present simple tense in the if clause, we mean that this is real, it's possible, it's likely to happen. If we use had, the past, it doesn't have to be had, could be any tense, any verb. It indicates two things. Number one, that there is no possibility. There is no possibility, or, and this is tricky, or there is no willingness. Meaning maybe I don't want to help you. So you understand this yourself. If somebody tells you, if I have enough money, I'll lend you some, means maybe she will get some money, she will win a lottery or something, somebody she's expecting, somebody to pay her, somebody expecting somebody to pay him. And that there is willingness. She wants to help, she wants to lend money. But if she says, if I had enough money, I would help you, indicates possibly two things. It's not likely that this is going to happen. Or maybe if there is the possibility, the financial possibility, the speaker is not willing to help you. So there is no willingness to help. So this is rule number one, rule number two. Again, rule number one and number two are both in the present in terms of meaning. But if number one, if it is likely to happen, if it is real, if it can happen, we use the first rule, present simple plus will plus infinitive. If it is impossible, almost impossible, unlikely to happen, unreal, we use the past simple in if clause and would plus infinitive. We go up 1 degree. However, if something happened and finished in the past, there's if there is if rule number one is likely and rule number two is unlikely, rule number three is impossible because it just happened. It just finished. It's in the past. Somebody tells you, I wanted help yesterday. I wanted your help yesterday. And that's it. It was yesterday. It happened and finished in the past. There was no help in the past. So you say, you go one step up. So present simple rule number one, past simple rule number two, past perfect rule number three. So you say, if you had asked, had plus past participle. If you had asked, I would have helped. We use would or could or might plus have plus past participle. So we have past perfect in the first part. We have would plus past present participle in the second part. Remember, always after will, would, can, could, shall, should, may, might, we use the infinitive. We use the infinitive. I'll talk about this in detail, but I'll give you an example here just to elaborate before we go in detail. So if somebody wanted help yesterday, in the past, last week, 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, you would say, if I like probably he came to you or she came to you a week ago, you said, sorry, I'm busy, I don't have the time. And then later on you said, if I had, yes, you say had for the past perfect, had for the have, when you have time or you don't have time. If I had enough time, again, I'd or I would have helped you. Okay, so this is the rule. Again, we go to expressing real conditions in the present and the future. If I don't eat breakfast, look at the present simple, I always get. Sometimes if this expresses a fact, you don't have to use will or can. I will get, I always get hungry as a fact. If I don't eat breakfast tomorrow, I will get hungry. Water freezes. See, because this is a fact, this is a scientific fact, you don't have to use will because it's a fact. If the temperature reaches 32 Celsius, if the temperature reaches 32 degree Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, water freezes, or water will freeze, both, but this is more common. So this is the first part of the first rule of F. Again, if it rains, we should stay at home. You can change the verb. We usually tell students to use will or can or may or, you know, or shall in the second part, but it depends. Here, this is some kind of advice. If it rains, we should stay home. If it rains, I might. We usually say may, but if you say use might, it's okay. But usually don't use would or could. If it rains, we can't go. If it rains, we are going to stay home, because this expresses a plan, a decision taken previously, planned something. If anybody calls, please take a message, because this is in the imperative form. If somebody calls, if anybody calls, please take a message. Now, if it is unlikely, we use should. Sometimes it's a little bit polite to use should in the imperative when you give orders, but using should also indicates that it's unlikely to happen. If anybody should call, please take a message. Basically, these two sentences are the same, but with should, it indicates that maybe nobody is going to call. Okay, so we move to the second part. Rule number 2, conditional rule number 2, unreal or contrary to fact in the present or the future. Remember, if it is unlikely to happen in the present, we use the past simple tense to express this impossibility. If I taught this class, I wouldn't give tests. The real fact is that I don't teach this class, so I can't have a decision. I can't make a decision. If he were right here now, look at now. Don't say, oh, why are you using now with where or was? We use now because this is present in the meaning. The meaning is in the present. And we use past to express that it's impossible. He would help you. And if I were you, can I be you? It's almost impossible, physically impossible. If I were you, I would accept. If I were you, I would accept their invitation. And remember here, you could say if he was here, and you could say if I was you. But was is informal. In your exams, in standard English, academic writing, use were. If I were you, I would accept the invitation. You could say if I were in Jerusalem. If I were in Jerusalem. Can I be in Jerusalem? It's almost impossible for Palestinians outside Jerusalem to be there, even for some Palestinians in Jerusalem to be there due to the Israeli occupation. So this is impossible. If I were in Jerusalem, I would pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque. You could say if I was in Jerusalem, but this is informal. So compare If I had enough money, I would buy a new car. You want to say here, the meaning is in the present simple. It means I don't have money, I can't buy a car. And because I use the past had, it indicates that there is no possibility I will be having enough money anytime soon. And then, okay, I don't want to differentiate between would and could. It's not a big deal to me, but I want to differentiate between rule number 1 and rule number 2. If you say, if I have enough money, I will buy a new car. This is rule number 1. The meaning is in the present. It means I don't have money. It means I will not buy this car. But because I use have, there is a possibility that I will have the money sometime soon. Somebody is going to give me money. I might win the lottery. I might get I don't know, my pension, my retirement. Somebody promised to lend me some money. So number 1, both sentences talk about the present or the future. But number 1, because it is rule number 2, it's unlikely to happen. Number 2 is likely to happen because we use present simple. This is an exercise. Again, pause the video and try to answer these questions. Decide if each sentence expresses a real or unreal. Just write real or unreal. This is not difficult. If it uses the past simple in the if clause, it's unreal. If it uses present simple, it is real. If I had more money, I would buy a new car. Because there is had, there is no possibility, almost no possibility. If I have enough money, there is a possibility that I might have it. Again, complete. This is another exercise. You can pause the video. Complete the sentences with the verbs in the parentheses. And again, look at the first part. If it is present, you usually need to use will or can or may. If it is in the past, you should use would. Now, the third rule, if conditional rule number 3, unreal, contrary to fact, in the past, when things have already finished or been done in the past or not been done in the past. If you had told me, look at this, we use past perfect in the if clause, and then would or could or might or should plus present perfect have plus past participle. If you had told me about the problem, I would have helped you. This is usually contrary to past. The sentence means, it means you didn't tell me, so I didn't help you. So in your exams, the question could be, you didn't tell me about the problem. That's why I couldn't help you. If you use if is usually contrary to what happened or what is or what was or what will be. So you didn't tell me. That's why I didn't help you. So if, because this is past, we use if you had told me, I'd have helped you. If you say, so, for example, the sentence, she didn't study, therefore she didn't pass. So look at the tense. If the tense is in the past, always use conditional if number 3. The past perfect, would, the present perfect. She didn't study, therefore she didn't pass. If, usually if, goes against what happened. So didn't study if she studied. If she had studied, past perfect, she would have passed. If, contrary to real life. Now look at this. In your exam, if the sentence, if I ask you to use if in sentences where the tense is present, for example, if the sentence is, I am not the teacher, I can't help you. Now, if the tense is in the present simple, you can use rule number 1 or rule number 2 with a difference in meaning. So you say, if I am the teacher, I can or I will help you. If you indicate impossibility for you to become the teacher, if I were the teacher, I would or I'd or I could help you. Remember, you can use if I was in spoken conversational English, but standard English, academic English, you use where. Look at this sentence. If somebody, for example, if you play the piano at night and you wake your neighbor, and then the other day your neighbor tells you, you know, I couldn't sleep last night because you were playing the piano. So you say, for example, I didn't know you were asleep. That's why I played the piano. The tense here is in the past. Didn't, played. If you use if, you say, if I had known that you were asleep, I wouldn't have, you always say the opposite. I played, I wouldn't have played. I didn't know, if I had known, I wouldn't have played the piano. Look at this beautiful sentence. If you have a sentence like this, he disobeyed his parents. He lost all his money. So this happened in the past. This happened in the past because disobeyed and lost. If you use if, you need, if the tense is in the past, you always, if something happened and finished in the past, always use rule number 3. If, so the opposite of disobeyed, didn't disobey. So past, past perfect. If he had obeyed his parents, he wouldn't have lost his money. Or if he hadn't disobeyed his parents, he wouldn't have lost his money. Interesting sentence. But we know if you read a sentence like this, we know he already disobeyed his parents. He already lost the money. Again, this is another exercise. Complete the sentences using the right form. Pay attention to the tense in the first part of the sentence and the second part of the sentence. Always remember, after would, can, could, shall, should, we use the present, the basic form of the verb, the infinitive without to. Now, using progressive verb forms in conditional sentences like was going, am going, etc. This happens also. It's not uncommon. In real situation like this, it is raining right now, so I will not go for a walk. Remember, if you use if, you usually you do the opposite of what is happening or what happened. So it is raining if it were not raining right now. So this is were not raining. This is progressive continuous. I would go for a walk. Real situation, it was raining yesterday, so past already. So If it hadn't been raining, you use the past perfect continuous. I would have gone for a walk. Not common, but can be used all the time. And also remember, we can use mixed time. Sometimes teachers usually tell you be consistent in your use of tenses. Yeah, but sometimes you can mix tenses. Look at this sentence. I didn't eat breakfast several hours ago in the morning, so I'm hungry now. So there are two tenses because of the logic. I didn't have breakfast this morning, so I'm hungry now. Later on, 5 hours later or something, at noon. Now, in such cases, if you use conditional if, again, you mix the tenses. So this is past, you go for the past perfect. This is present, you go for the past simple. If I had eaten breakfast several hours ago, I wouldn't be hungry now. It's okay, you can mix that. Another example, he isn't a good student. He didn't study for the test yesterday. It's a fact that he isn't a good student. That's why we use present simple. But we talk about a particular thing here that happened yesterday, which is not studying. He didn't study for the test yesterday. If he were a good student, he would have studied for the test yesterday. It happens. The first part here is more common. Now, remember, I mentioned this before. Sometimes we can delete if. Remember, if is a subordinator. You don't just simply delete if. If you delete if, you have to change something in the sentence. This is something called, again, subject verb inversion, where you bring the verb, the modal verb, the verb to have before the subject. So the first sentence here, this one, is originally, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. If you delete if, you can delete if for emphasis, for surprise. Remember, deleting if alone is wrong because the result is two main clauses connected with a comma, which is totally wrong. So how can you fix this? Deleting if, you bring the verb before the subject verb inversion. Where are you? And this is very poetic. Not many students can use these expressions. So if you use them, it makes you look cool. But remember, it's not about looking cool, it's about using them to achieve a particular impact. So this sentence, the second one, is originally, if I had known, I would have told you. Beautiful sentence. Rule number 3, you delete if. Remember, deleting if alone is not enough because it creates two main clauses connected with a comma, which is wrong. So we do something about it to make it correct. And the thing we do here is we do subject verb inversion. We use verb before the subject. Had I known, it's like you're asking a question without using a question mark. Had I known, I would have told you. Beautiful. Remember, we said sometimes when you in rule number 1, when you ask somebody to do something that is unlikely to happen, you use should. In cases where you use should, you can invert. So inversion happen. You delete if in rule number 2 and number 3, or number 1 only if you use should. So the sentence is originally, if someone should call, please take a message. So should anyone call, please take a message. And this is beautiful and also important. This could be tricky sometimes in cases where you use where part the sentence the if clause in the is in the second part of the sentence, not the first part of the sentence. Like here, for example, I would have given him money had he asked. Oh, what a beautiful sentence this is. This is if sentence. With if deleted originally, it is I would have given him money if he had asked. Can be tricky sometimes. So again, we have more. We have an exercise. You can pause the video and try to answer these questions. Make sentences with the same meaning by omitting if. Just delete if. Remember, you just delete if. You bring the verb, the auxiliary verb before the subject. Not difficult. Again, another exercise. Pause the video, do the exercise, and check your answers. This is the again the exercise. Same exercise and same exercise. Now, sometimes the conditions are implied without using if. That's something silly. We'll just go through it very quickly. I would have gone with you, but I had to study. So the sentence doesn't use if, but the implication is conditional, meaning I would have if I hadn't, if I, for example, if I didn't have to study, I would have gone with you. Is it correct? I would have gone with you if I didn't have to study. I never would have succeeded without your help. If you hadn't helped me, I wouldn't have succeeded. She ran otherwise. Look at this, the semicolon here to make it a compound sentence. She ran otherwise she would have missed her train, her bus. If she hadn't run, she would have missed the train. Now we use wishes about the present and the past when we use wish. Again, this is similar to if sentences. If the sentence is true in the present, like I don't know English, it is raining, I can't speak, to express a wish for the present, you use the past simple. Look at this. I don't know French. I wish I knew French. It is raining now. If you use I wish with I wish, or if only, by the way, if only and I wish are friends. So if only I knew French. I am not in Jerusalem now. I wish I were in Jerusalem now. If only I wish I were in Jerusalem now. It's raining right now. I wish it weren't raining. It's usually the opposite. I can't speak Japanese. I wish I could speak Japanese. Okay, so if you to express a wish about the present, use the past simple tense. Likewise, like if number 3, if you want to express a wish about something that finished already in the past, you use the past perfect. So Joan didn't come. I wish Joan had come. Mary couldn't come. I wish Mary could have come. There is a difference between wish and hope. Hope, it's possible. With wish, it's impossible. I wish I could come. I can't come. I hope I can come. Maybe I'm going to make it. There's another exercise here. Another exercise here. You can do these exercises. And before I finish, I want to just clarify this thing a little bit. So if you say, I don't have enough money to buy this car, to use I wish or if only, you say, I wish I had enough money to buy this car. Or same meaning, if only I had enough money to buy this car. Look, because this is present simple, we use past indicating something that is unlikely. But if you talk about something, I didn't have enough money to buy that car. If you use the past, you go for the past perfect to indicate that it's something that happened in the past and it's now impossible. I wish I had enough money to buy that car. With the future, you usually use I could. I wish I could. You could with I, and usually with we. and you use would with all other pronouns. So I wish I could travel soon. I wish you would leave now. I wish you would leave now. And in these cases, again, you say, I wish I were in Jerusalem now. Originally, the sentence is, I am not in Jerusalem now. If the sentence is originally, I was not in Jerusalem yesterday, it should be, instead of the past, use the past perfect. I wish I had been in Jerusalem yesterday. If you want to express something about the future, tomorrow, next week, you want to be in Jerusalem, you wish, I wish I could be in Jerusalem next month. It's a beautiful sentence. By the way, if you replace I wish with if only, it's basically the same meaning. But you don't say I wish if. I wish I could be in Jerusalem. I wish I had been in Jerusalem. I wish I were in Jerusalem. Or if only I were, if only I had been, if only I could be in Jerusalem. We have another exercise here, the final exercise that covers the whole unit. Again, this is error analysis. Each sentence has one error related to conditionals and wishes. You can pause the video, try to answer the questions, and you can always ask me about the things you're not sure about, things you have trouble with. Okay? Good luck. Thank you, and talk to you soon.